Hello everyone, welcome back to House DM. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because I'm just doing a stream of consciousness review, so to speak, of the playtest Unearthed Arcana material for One D&D. So yeah, a lot of you voted on my community poll that you were, well, most of you, the majority of you said that you were curious in my thoughts on it, so I'm sharing that here. Boom, recording. If you haven't already done this, I highly recommend you go to the D&D Beyond website and fill out that survey. That way you can add your voice and provide feedback if you've play tested the document or if you just have your own opinions about what Wizards of the Coast could do better. I'll also be referring to Wizards of the Coast as WOTC probably through the majority of this video. So if you hear me say WOTC, it's just the acronym for Wizards of the Coast. Just so you know. All right. So Unearthed Arcana 2022 Character Origins. Wow, there's some fun information in this document. There's some things I really like, and there are some things that I'm like meh about. But here you can see the little disclaimer. Providing feedback on this document is one way you can help shape the next generation of D&D. I love this hobby. I care a lot about it. And while I'm no longer really the targeted audience for Wizards of the Coast, I still have thoughts and opinions as a somewhat seasoned DM. And yeah, I think it's important to share that, especially when the company that makes a lot of the games you play, I like Magic the Gathering too, is asking for your feedback. So I think I'm actually one of those niche, both Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering kind of players. I don't know how many people, I don't know if you're like me, but if you are, shout out to you for enjoying trading card games and also Dungeons and Dragons. Here's to that. All right. So first off, determining your origin. I really like how WOTC has simplified this into like a race, background, and language. They've also provided a lot of information on how to go about doing that, as can be seen here with their background trait information, all this stuff. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail as we scroll through the document. First off, though, I want to talk about humans. Let's see here. Here we are, humans. They have this ability called Resourceful now, which I think is great. I think this is an awesome way for WOTC to incorporate inspiration back into the game. It kind of felt like this optional rule that not every DM used. I've always used it, especially inspired by Index Card RPG and Hero Coins. I think this is a really cool mechanic and a great way to reward your players. And I'd like to see how WOTC's reincorporating this back into the game, especially through humans. It just makes sense and it seems really flavorful. Skillful. I have personal opinions about skills and D&D in general. I don't think that you really need them. I think that the game is totally fine just using your ability score and going off of that as opposed to having a separate check for skills specifically. But yeah, here it makes sense. And then versatile, here you can see you gain the skilled feat, which is a horrible feat, and we'll talk about that later, but or another first level feat of your choice. So that's cool. I think they should just remove the skilled feat and say you gain another first level feat of your choice. Problem solved. Everyone's getting a lot of feats. It seems like with the humans, they get this feat and then you also get a feat from your background. So there's a lot of abilities you're getting at first level now moving forward. And I don't know if we need that many abilities. A lot of the classes, they already have a lot of things they can do. So this is an interesting perspective that WOTC's taking here by adding more feats into the game. Anyways, moving on to Ardling. Wow, internet. The internet has quite a few opinions about this class. I think it's interesting that WOTC decided to replace ASMR or ASMR. I think it's pronounced ASMR, but ASMR makes sense too, I suppose. I think the main thing that people are upset about is the flight, angelic flight ability. You can see here. It says, as a bonus action, you sprout spectral wings for a moment and fly up to a number of feet equal to your speed, in this case 30. If you are in the air at the end of the movement, you fall if nothing is holding you aloft. So I highlighted this part because I think this is the main key piece as to why this isn't super broken at level 1, is at level 1, you're at most going to be having 1d12 hit points if you're playing a barbarian. And falling from 30 feet with fall damage, you're taking 3d6 total. That's 1d6 per 10 feet you fall. So you're going to get pretty badly injured. If you're shot out of the sky by arrows, or you fall and you don't grab onto something, and you're going to fall quite a bit. It's kind of like a bigger jump because you have to land afterwards or hold on to something. So at level 1, I'm like, yeah, you can do it twice per for your proficiency bonus, twice per long rest, but okay, like is your campaign so like easily unhinged by a character being able to fly for 30 feet that like that's like unacceptable? Like I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Let them fly for 30 feet and then land on something. And I think they're going to use this for critical moments at level 1 to really shine. And I don't see that being a problem. And like I said earlier, there's things called arrows. Just shoot them with arrows if you think it's a broken ability. The weird thing about this class, though, is that it's supposed to be celestial, but they have these like suggested animals to like have your head or your character kind of look like. I'm not against characters looking like animals. I think that's fine if you're into that. But why celestial? Like, why not just make it this class be like angelic, similar to the ASMR, and then I don't know, maybe have the animal thing be still called Ardlings, but make Ardlings a separate race where you can embellish the animalistic nature of each of these creatures is very unique. Bears, elephants, owl, cat, like they all have their own unique qualities to them. I just don't understand why they're all lumped together for this celestial class or race. I keep calling it class, my bad. Yeah, so that's kind of odd to me. I think the spells make sense. First level, you get Thaumaturgy, Light, or Guidance. I have my own qualms with the Light spell. I think it should have a faster timer or be more limited in what it can do. It's like infinite torches. Like, come on, that's broken. These other spells, Divine Favor, Cure Wounds, Healing Word, these all make sense to me. Zone of Truth, though, that's a funny spell always. Yeah, I mean, the class is fine. You get damage resistance. You have resistance to radiant damage. I think this is an okay class design. I just don't understand why the animal part is here. It just seems a little out of place there to me, in my humble opinion. Yeah, chill out about the flying. It's fine. Like, use arrows. You'll be okay. Dragonborn. Next up. Dragonborn, where art thou, Dragonborn? Here we are, breath weapon. So the main change here that I've noticed is they have made it be a dexterity saving throw as opposed to dexterity or con saving throw, depending on your draconic ancestry. This is fine. I think this is great for simplicity's sake, but not good for consistency's sake. So I know a lot of dragons, some of them have dex saves, some of them have con saves, and then now your Dragonborn character only has dex saves, even if it's like poison, I think was one example of it being a con save. Yeah, that's a choice. I don't think it's a problem, but I like making things more simplified. It's easier to get people into the game, but creating simplicity at the cost of consistency can add some confusion later on. I also don't know if this is a buff, the 1d10 plus your character level and damage. Yeah, like at level 1, you're doing 1d10 plus 1 damage. That just feels a little weak, and sure, you're doing it to a 15-foot cone of enemies, but I would prefer this breath weapon to be used less often and have it be more powerful, because then it feels like an actual dragon's breath weapon, and it feels like it's an impactful moment when the Dragonborn decides to use their breath weapon. Like, that seems like a cool cinematic thing. But if you're like, the Dragonborn uses their breath weapon and they like are doing it to save somebody and they roll a 1 on their 1d10 plus 1 and does 2 damage to like 3 people, like, all right. Just feels like I don't know. Anyways, yeah, you get a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. I highlighted proficiency bonus here because WOTC is really going this direction of like letting you do things a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Kind of like, it just seems like this is going to be replacing short rest at some point, but I think it's cool, and I'm just highlighting that because this is just another thing that they're going to be swapping out. I see here that there's dark vision now added for Dragonborn. I don't like dark vision as a mechanic. I think it makes sense here for Dragonborn because of all the races that should have dark vision. It's like Dragonborn, sure, they're dragons. They should probably have that. Drow, that makes sense for them to have that. Tieflings, you're demonic, so you should probably have that. Dwarves and elves, like, and gnomes, I don't know if they need dark vision. I think it's okay if they don't have it. Like, let Drow have dark vision. That's cool and unique for them. But the rest of them, like, There's torches and light. Use those. So I think that's fine for Dragonborn here. Yeah. So speaking of dwarves, wow. WOTC, you are like this makes me see, it's weird. You say like, I'm not your targeted audience, but now I feel like you're my targeted audience because I like what you did here with dwarves. Yeah, there's dark vision. I just talked about that. So ignoring dark vision, dwarven resilience. I like that you have buffed the poison damage and poison condition resistance thing. Because here it says you also have advantage on saving throws you make to avoid or end the poison condition. So it's not just saves you make to avoid it, but also to end the condition. I think that's a buff. I think that's great. Dwarven toughness. Always took dwarven toughness whenever I would play a dwarf, so that's great. I see that. I think, was it hill dwarves or mountain dwarves? I don't know which one got the dwarven toughness, but there's no longer those two options. It's just dwarf. You're a dwarfy dwarf, which I think is fine. Forge-wise, interesting choice. I think it's weird that it says your divine creator gave you an uncanny affinity for working with stone or metal. I don't know how I feel about the wording on that, but it's fine. Tool proficiency. I think tool proficiencies are this weird thing that WOTC's really trying to push right now. I don't think that players need to benefit from both their proficiency bonus, their ability score, the D20 roll, and then also a tool proficiency thing. That's a whole separate thing. We'll get to that in the rules glossary. You're just getting some stupidly high rolling results to the point of like, why even roll at that point? You're just going to succeed. Statistically, you're going to succeed. But the piece I really like about what they've done with this race is Stone Cunning. Stone Cunning says as a bonus action, you gain Tremor Sense with a range of 60 feet for 10 minutes. And you can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. Amazing. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to good game design. Like, there's not enough moments where WOTC has done things like this where I'm like, that is cool, that is unique. Now when I'm playing, I'm like, oh, can we go recruit a dwarf? Because we know that they have Stone Cunning. And if we're going underground or planning any sort of excursion to go acquire, MacGuffin X, Y, and Z from some ancient ruin someplace that's underground, having a dwarf is a huge boon to your party. And this makes dwarves be really cool in my eyes because I think the Tremor Sense rules state that they can like pinpoint the exact location of a living creature or moving object or something. Like, that is such a cool mechanic, and I really like that they're incorporating something like Tremor Sense, which typically isn't really utilized. So good job. Let's do more of that, please. I like that. All right. Elves. Dark vision, don't need it. Elven lineage. We'll talk about the elven lineage first, and then we'll go over the other bits. I like that elves have this first level ability and also like a cantrip kind of thing associated with it, which is cool because elves now have this like kind of like nod to old school essentials or BX D&D, because elves had like the ability to use magical capabilities. So they've really like honed in as that's the thing that makes elves unique. So drow get the dark vision to 120 feet. Just give them the 120 feet dark vision and take away dark vision from the regular elves. I think that would make it even cooler to be a drow. Then you get the Dancing Lights cantrip. High elves get Prestidigitation, and then they can swap out Prestidigitation with a different cantrip when they finish a long rest. I think this is a cool thing, and like one of those Tasha's Cauldron of Everything quality of life increases to just make it easier to pick the spell you want. And that makes sense for high elves. Also, they get Detect Magic and Misty Step, which flavor-wise makes sense. And Wood Elves, your speed increases to 35 feet. Cool. That makes sense. They also get Log Strider, some more speed. Wood Elves are going to be speedies. And then Pass Without Trace, Druidcraft. Yeah, that all makes sense. I think this is cool. All right, Fey Ancestry. They can avoid they get advantage on saving throws you make to avoid or end the charmed condition on yourself. So similar to the dwarf with poison, Fey Ancestry gives them the ability with charmed, and I think halflings will get that with the frightened condition, which we'll get to. Keen senses, yeah, I think that's unchanged. But trance. So WOTC was so close. They were so close to making this ability be as cool as the dwarven ability. And it says, you don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours if you spend those hours in a trance-like meditation during which you retain consciousness. So it's like we're trying to make elves have a cool ability, and the trance thing is the main thing that they're going for. The issue, however, is, okay, so what? You finish your long rest in 4 hours, then what are you going to do with the rest of the 4 hours while the rest of your party sleeps? Like, sure, maybe you'll like try to be creative and like, I'm going to work on this project, or like, I'm going to keep watch, or some other aspect of the game that like, the way I see this working out actually in game and at my table is trying to make value out of it for the players so they feel good for their choice of taking this. But the rest of the people at the table are going to be like, I don't want to sit here and have you role play with the elf for the remaining 4 hours. Like, let's just cut to the end of the rest, you know? So like, instead of doing this, maybe let's fix long rests and fix that issue first off. And then whatever the solution is, tie that into like having elves do better with rests or something. Maybe like, you know, I have some ideas for rests. They'll be in another video later on. But I have some solutions that involve recovering more hit dice from short rests or giving the chance to recover them. That could make sense here, as opposed to just letting them take a long rest faster. I just don't see it being really relevant. And yeah, it's so close to being cool, but it's just not. I don't think it would come up in my game. I really don't. And I certainly wouldn't pick an elf for that ability. I would sooner pick a dwarf for the tremor sense. Anyways, yeah, elves, not bad at all. Gnomes, next up. So gnomes, I don't think really had many changes at all. I highlighted gnomish cunning because I think that's one of the best benefits you get as a gnome, is just having advantage on all of your mental saving throws is like huge. Oh, my stomach just growled. Wow, I'm hungry. This should be beer, not water. But yeah, gnomish lineage. So the main thing here for forest gnomes, you get your minor illusion cantrip. You can also cast speak with animals with this trait. And then you can also use your spell slots, if you have any, to cast this spell. I think that's the main difference here, is you're able to do that. Before it was like you can only cast the spell for that specific spell slot, and you weren't able to like cast a spell with your other spell slots if you happen to also be a caster, and that was kind of a weird thing. So I think that's also from Tasha's. I think that's fine. And then there's like the rock gnome gets mending and prestidigitation cantrips, so you get 2 cantrips. I guess that's the benefit, is you get 2 like infinite spells, I suppose. I don't know. These just don't excite me. And then we can scroll down here and there's a giant section for, you know, the rock gnome to do the whole like create a tiny clockwork device. I don't even want to read this. Like, you can make a toy, a fire starter, or a music box. It's just like a lot of words for a super minor thing that as a DM, I don't want to explain it to a player how it works. And as a player, I don't want to read through it to understand how it works. Especially at level 1. I don't know. It's kind of like the joke at my Magic the Gathering EDH group where when somebody has a new card and it has like a million words of text on it, we're like, yeah, just tell me how it works. I'm not going to read that because we don't have time. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this could use some work. I feel like Gnome's got the short end of the stick here. So anyways, Halflings too. Let's move on to Halflings. Brave got upgraded, so they have advantage for avoiding or ending the frightened condition. That's good. They have Halfling nimbleness. I think this is the same as how it was in the player's handbook. You can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than yours. Great. I think that's helpful. Luck is luck. Always happy about luck. And then they get the naturally stealthy ability, which I think was the Lightfoot Halfling got that ability. And then I think the other Halfling sub-race was like encroaching too much on the dwarf abilities with like the poison resistance or something. I don't remember what it was, but they just combined it and made Halflings Halfling. So yeah, fewer choices is good, and I think simplifying it makes sense, but I feel like maybe luck is good enough to go Halfling route, but there could have been one more thing added, like why not incorporate something with food or like rations or something where you can make the rations better and gain healing, or some sort of inspiration based thing, kind of like the humans, except maybe they have to like give it away instead of keep it for themselves. I don't know. There's things that they could have done with Halflings to make them cooler, but they didn't, so bummer. But yeah, I submitted my survey already and provided this feedback. If you haven't taken that survey, I think you should go take the survey and, write in that comment section your perspective and what you think could change or should be changed based off of this Unearthed Arcana document. Like, why not? What do you have to lose? Except some of your time. That's all. All right. Moving on to orcs. Orcs. I think that's a festival. Have you been to orcs? Let me know, because that looks sick. I've seen it, like a bunch of orcs fighting in a big field. Adrenaline Rush. Wow. This ability is freaking tight. This makes me want to play an orc. Already, I think the Relentless Endurance made me want to play an orc, because there's nothing cooler than like taking a hit, dropping to 0, and then getting back up with 1 hit point. I think that's such a fun mechanic. It's like fun to use in your game. It's fun to survive. It's cinematic. It tells a cool story. Like, yes, more of that. But Adrenaline Rush, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. That's fantastic. Better action economy is always cool. And then you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. This is sick. Like, you kind of get like a little boost as you charge into the fray. Like, yeah, more of this. They also have dark vision. Okay, I guess orcs make sense to have dark vision. Fine. I guess that's okay. And then powerful build. They took this from the Goliath. You count as 1 size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. So cool, but this is a band-aid on a solution to a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the encumbrance system in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is garbage. Fix it. Nobody wants to track pounds and weight. No, like some people, I'm sure, are happy to use D&D Beyond. Personally, that's not for me. I don't like to use a lot of technology when I play at the table. I like to sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends with like a low tech system. I'll like have my laptop for notes and that's it. I don't want to use D&D Beyond to track encumbrance. If I have to use an app to keep tabs on how much things weigh, like it's not a good system. Use item slots. Just switch to an item slot system. I think like Ben Milton over at Questing Beast does this with Knave. Like there's a ton of games. Index Card RPG does this that use item slots. It's just so much easier. And then like we can give benefits to like backpacks and pouches and like the powerful build. It could just say, you count as 1 size larger and you gain 3 additional item slots and increase your capacity. Like that seems cool. And I would be excited to play an orc just for that, because I'm like, cool, I can carry more shit with me. Like having a lot of items at my disposal is akin to like a wizard having a million spells in their spell book. It's helpful. So, I know a lot of DMs just kind of hand wave and variant encumbrance, but I don't know. If you have to hand wave it, like fix it. Just fix it. And we already talked about Relentless Endurance. All right. Tieflings. Tieflings are cool. I had no problems with it. They have thaumaturgy. That's fun. Easily one of my favorite cantrips besides prestidigitation. Here we go. Yeah, Abyssal, Chthonic, and Infernal. So Abyssal has resistance to poison damage, Chthonic has resistance to necrotic, and Infernal has resistance to fire. All these make sense. These are cool. Abyssal gets poison, Chthonic gets chill touch, and Infernal gets fireball. I always think chill touch is cold damage, but it's necrotic. It's like such a funny little semantic thing there. And then 3rd level, Abyssals get Ray of Sickness, and then Whole Person at 5th. That's cool. False Life, and then Ray of Enfeeblement for the Chthonic. And then, of course, you still get Hellish Rebuke and Darkness for the Infernal Tieflings. That's cool. This is actually really simplified, and I like how it's like, that's what you get, plus Thaumaturgy and Dark Vision. Done. That's it. Love it. Love it, love it. All right, moving on to character backgrounds. So you can build your own background. You don't have to use the ones that are provided here. I think that, actually it says right here, you can build a background from scratch or customize a pre-made background. The pre-made backgrounds are actually pretty great. I actually like them. And even says here, sample backgrounds. Each of them contains story-oriented details that are meant to inspire. I think that's what it's supposed to say. Wow. That are meant to inspire you as you think of your character's backstory. Yes. That's fantastic. Making backstories is always weird, and I think this is a great way to simplify it and make it easy. But yeah, from your background features, I like this quality of life increase where you can choose 2 ability scores, increase one by 2 and the other one by 1, or choose 3 ability scores and increase each of them by 1. This is great for all the min-maxers out there that love to optimize their character stats. Skill proficiencies and tool proficiencies, I think this is fine. I don't really, I've already mentioned my thoughts on skills and tools in the game. Fine. This is fine. Languages, we'll talk about languages a little bit later on, but it is one of the things you get to choose from your background, which I think is important to mention here. And then you get a feat. So I mentioned this earlier. Choosing one first level feat, your character gains that feat. I'm a little wary about this just because we're providing a lot of additional options at first level for players to like have to pick from. And I'm sure there's ways to simplify this and speed up that process, but there's also a lot of abilities you get with your class that are just kind of like garbage a little bit. They're like, when you get to like level 9 and you're playing a fighter and you get the thing that's like, you can jump further now. And it's like, that's going to be relevant like once this campaign. Let's just get rid of those things. Let's make each ability something to be excited about, as opposed to being like, ugh, I leveled up and now I only get this lame ability. Like if you have to roll your eyes at something that you're gaining from leveling up, then like, I think that's kind of like another problem. So yeah, there's just a lot, and adding more abilities just adds more ability bloat. And my fear is that that's going to result in more of this, like, the answer is on my character sheet. I can only do what's on my character sheet, instead of thinking like outside of the box and looking up at the table and your friends and being present in the moment, instead of like, what can I do with my sheet here? So that's all. And then equipment. Your character gains 50 gold to spend on starting equipment. Wow, this is amazing, and I hope that this stays. I always thought it was weird that you could start the game, you either roll 3d6 times 10 gold. No, that's the default. I don't know, something in the book, you roll a bunch of dice and you get a ton of gold, or you choose your starting equipment, which is even better because you get like several weapons, a full thing of armor, and then like a bunch of additional like tools and shit. Like, this says you only get 50 gold to spend on starting equipment. That is so much cooler. And we can see that in the backgrounds. Like, look at the Acolyte. They only have 3 gold left over after they've bought or purchased a book, their calligrapher's supplies, a holy symbol, parchment, and a robe. They don't even have a weapon, and they have 3 gold left. So they can spend 2 of that gold to buy a dagger, and then that's what they're starting the game with. That's sick. Sure, they have magic initiate up here, and like they could probably use spells or whatever. But yeah, if we scroll down to like, where is it? The soldier, I think. Oh, here, guard. Guards, they get 20 crossbow bolts, a light crossbow, a quiver, a spear, 12 gold pieces, and then a couple other flavorful things. Like, and then they still have 12 gold pieces left over. This is great because, and like, I don't even see armor in here. There's no armor. You don't get armor to start. So either that's going to be included as an additional benefit with classes, or they're just like, screw armor. And I think that's actually great because, if you're picking a guard and you're not getting all of your weapons and gear that you want at level 1, that makes earning gold feel like impactful, because you're like, oh, once I get gold, I can go buy these items, or I can go and trade, or finding things on the battlefield becomes cool and a memorable moment in the game because you're gaining these things and you're improving in that context. As opposed to just starting the game with everything that you need. Moving along. All right, starting languages. So here's the part that I said I'd come and revisit. I like where we're heading kind of with this. No, that's not true. Why did I say that? I don't. I don't like where we're headed with the language situation. Why are there so many? You get common, you get a language provided by your character's background, and then you get a language, common, a language provided by the character's background, and a language that you choose from the standard languages table below. So with that, you're starting with 3 by default. If you happen to be a Dragonborn druid, you're getting Draconic because you're a Dragonborn, and then you're getting Druidic because you're a druid, and that's 5 languages you're starting the game with. And none of it has to do with your intelligence. Hell, you could have a -1 to your intelligence and still have that many languages. To be fair, Druidic's a secret language and it's like taught maybe differently. And then the Draconic is like, I think it even mentions like the Dragonborn, you like subtly understand the nuances of Draconic or something along those lines. And you just know the entire language. That's fine. It's a lot of languages. I feel like if you're going to give this many characters just trilingual off the bat, like it kind of makes them feel not as special anymore. Like how many languages there are. There's not a ton. So if everyone gets 3 languages, you're going to go through quite a few of these. And also, like, intelligence as a modifier is already like meh. Like, why couldn't it be related to the intelligence modifier of your intelligence-based classes? Or instead of intelligence just being a dump stat, you can be like, I'm going to boost up my intelligence because I want to have more languages and make that be relevant in the game. So if everyone has a ton of languages, then I just don't see this really becoming common. I don't see this becoming like a good aspect of this playtest. I do like that they have common sign language in here. That's why I highlighted it. And then Druidic is also added in Thieves' Cant, which were originally only accessible to classes, but I think this incorporates new clever ways to like improve the background of your character. Maybe like you were a fighter and you were raised by a Druidic circle, and then you left the circle to go adventure and you remembered how they taught you Druidic. Like, or you're a Thieves' Cant. You were once in the Thieves Guild, then you left, and now you're a bard. That's cool. You would still know Thieves' Cant. That's, to me, that seems like a good call there. Yeah. So feats. Let us move on to feats. Okay. We're almost done with this recording too. It's crazy. All right. Alert. Wow. This is bad. This is bad, WOTC. I don't like alert because the alert in the player's handbook made sense and was like fine. This alert, the whole initiative swap thing, no. Just like no. This is another band-aid on a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is that tracking initiative sucks. It's not fun in D&D. Like some people are like, oh, it's really easy. You can use the clothespins and do the thing. I've used clothespins. I've used light up candles to let me know who still has to go at the table. I've used apps and websites and just writing it on a piece of paper. And they all just take forever. You know what doesn't take forever? Going clockwise. Like every game does this. You can still have initiative and it's like the player's team versus the monster's team. You can still have it handled that way. In my game, we roll a d20 for both sides, and then the higher roll goes first. It's just that simple. I don't even use dexterity as a modifier because, let's be real, dexterity modifiers already have enough good shit going for it. They don't need to also affect the initiative. And then, yes, I know there's classes like the Gloomstalker gets a benefit to the proficiency bonus and yada, yada, yada. I'll still house rule an additional bonus to that initiative roll to make that feature or class ability like still be relevant and cool at my table. But the fact that there's a feat here to fix a broken initiative system is just kind of like LOL to me. Like, just no, we're good. Yeah, even here, initiate proficiency. When you roll initiative, you can add your proficiency bonus to the roll. Like, sure, that's fine. Add that to like the old alert features in some regard. And I think there's ways to make alert better, but this initiative swap thing, like that just seems silly. We do clockwise, and if the players want to switch because it's strategic, just let them switch. Just be like, Joe wants to go before Matt, that's fine. Like, just let him switch and then continue on with the game. It's okay. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on alert. Yikes. Crafter, this is cool. I like this. Discount, 20% discount whenever you buy a non-magical item. Hell yeah, let's make gold relevant again. Faster crafting. When you craft an item using a tool with which you have tool proficiency, the required crafting time is reduced by 20%. Sick. That's cool. Maybe that can be combined with the Elves trance ability and you can be crafting shit all night. That's the only thing I can think of to make the elf trance ability be useful. Healer. This is great. Also, the wording for battle medic. Holy yikes. I'll try to read this to you slowly. If you have a healer's kit, you can expend one use of that kit and tend to a creature within 5 feet of you as an action. That creature then can expend one of its hit dice, and then you roll that die for them. That creature then regains a number of hit points equal to your roll plus your proficiency bonus as the medic. I get where you're going with this, but let's maybe clean that up a little bit. Basically, I can roll your hit dice for you and add my proficiency bonus because I'm healing you to use a hit die during combat, so to speak. Seems cool. I like the idea. I think it'll come up. I like that hit dice are becoming more of a thing in the game. I think hit dice is another example of a great mechanic that's underutilized in the game. Not in my games. We use them all the time. Healing rerolls. Whenever you roll a die to determine the number of hit points you restore with a spell or with this feat's battle medic benefit, you can reroll the die if it rolls a 1. Great. This is awesome. Notice that it's helpful for both spell casting, healing spells, and this battle medic ability. So it's good even if you're not a healing class. Though I'd be surprised if somebody took this and didn't have healing magic. That would seem silly. All right. Lucky got fixed. There's luck points. You have a number of them equal to your proficiency bonus. And yeah, you get them back on a long rest. Advantage. You can give yourself advantage on a D20 test. I love the terminology for D20 tests. I'll talk about that later. Also here, you can give disadvantage on an attack roll, not on a test. So you either get advantage for yourself on a attack roll, a ability check, or a saving throw, or you can give an opponent disadvantage on an attack roll against you. But you can't give them disadvantage on a saving throw, unfortunately. That would be a little bit too powerful, I think. But yeah, I think this is a fine solution. I still think it's really powerful. I think a lot of people are going to still want to take this, but that's fine. Magic Initiate. Choose one spell list, Arcane, Divine, or Primal. I think this has come up earlier. I just ignored it. But yeah, there's 3 spell lists now. We'll talk about that also later. But I highlighted it here because I wanted to point it out. You still get your 2 cantrips. I think the only rule, there's 2 changes here. You can also cast the spell using any spell slots you have. So that's another Tasha's thing. And then also, whenever you gain a new level, you can replace one of the spells you chose for this feat with a different spell of the same level from the chosen spell list. Yeah, this just makes it more flexible, and you can change your spell if you picked a spell that just sucks and wasn't relevant. Honestly, I think a lot of DMs just house rule this anyways, that you could change it. Because there's nothing better than being like, I'm choosing this feat, and then you pick a spell because you want to try something new, and the spell you pick just happens to like never be relevant at your table. Some of those spells really are never relevant. So looking at you, Illusory Script. Not so illusory now. Musician. Inspiring Song. Wow. This is a cool feat. I like it. I think it needs some work though. You can give inspiration to allies who hear the song. The number of allies you can affect in this way equals your proficiency bonus. So at level 1, you can give 2 of your allies inspiration by singing a song during a short or long rest. Seems cool. Seems fine. What I see happening if you have players who want to be optimal is that your entire campaign just becomes a musical because you can just keep taking short rests whenever you want, give 2 players inspiration, and then start a new song. So, hey, I'm not one to judge. Play the game how you want and have fun, but if you really want to break the game a little bit, just turn your campaign into a musical, and you're just going to give inspiration left and right. So that's rules as written. I'm sure that'll get fixed a little bit, unless that was the intent, was for the musician in the group to like have a time to shine or something. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. More inspiration is great. Savage Attacker. I don't think this changed much. I think it was just reworded so that you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target instead of like, I think it was like you could. It was weird. It was weird how it was worded. This makes more sense, I think. Yeah. Okay, skilled feat. Wow, get rid of this. This feat sucks. I don't think anyone would ever take. I shouldn't say that. Jake, House DM, I will never take the skilled feat. We have enough options for gaining proficiencies and other skills. Why would I waste a feat on something as lame as this? The only way you can make me consider adding another proficiency to my character sheet is if like, instead of it being a proficiency, it was like you gain expertise in 2 skills that you already have proficiency in. 2 skills. That makes it worth taking, in my opinion, because you're like, oh, you're getting this additional benefit. But like, there's only so many skills in the game, and there's only so many of them that are actually relevant at your table. This just seems silly to me, and I think that it needs work. And it either needs work or needs to just be deleted. That's a hot take, I know, but you can flame me in the comments if you like. I'll meet you there. Actually, and for all you who are watching, if you're new here, let me know in the comments if you like this, or if there's something I say that you don't like, or if something you do like, especially if it's something you do like. I really like engaging with you guys in the comments. I love to chat. So I'm pretty active on there, at least until like, there's thousands of comments on my videos, which probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. I'll have to hire a henchman at that point, but it's been fun. So throw me a comment, let me know, say hi. Yeah, I enjoy it. It makes my day. So thank you. And like the video if you like it. All right, Tavern Brawler. Speaking of cool feats, speaking of things that aren't skilled, Tavern Brawler. Wow, this is so cool. This is a cool feat. If I had to pick between skilled and Tavern Brawler, 100% of the time I would take Tavern Brawler. So this enhances your unarmed strike, which got modified based off of the rules glossary in here. And you can do, with this feat, you can do 1d4 plus your strength modifier, so you get a little bit of boost to your unarmed strikes, which normally just do 1 plus your strength modifier, so that's cool. You can re-roll your damage if it rolls a 1. You get this shove ability. Normally with unarmed strikes, I think you can either like choose to do your damage, you can either shove them 5 feet or knock them prone, or you can grapple them instead. It's like this or this or this. With the Tavern Brawler feat, you can deal damage and also shove them 5 feet away. Though I do notice here that it says you can deal damage to the target and also push it 5 feet away. So you can't deal damage to the target and also knock them prone. So that's a semantic thing there that I just noticed. It's still good though. Pushing people 5 feet away off of ledges, fun times, always good times. Furniture as weapons. This is cute too. I like this. Using the rules of the Great Club for small or medium furniture and the rules of the club for tiny furniture. I just imagine somebody like picking up a flagon in a tavern and bashing someone over the head and be like, cool, that's club damage. Because you're a Tavern Brawler. Like, sick, love it. This feat's so cool. Yeah, go Tavern Brawler. Tough, love tough. Rules glossary. Cool. We are now in the rules glossary. First off, arcane spells. As I mentioned, there's arcane, divine, and primal. We'll go through the spell list when we get to the end of this. These other pieces here. Artisan's tools. Yeah, artisan's tools. So those tools now cost 15 gold a piece. I think this is cool. I think this is simplified, and they don't just do it for artisan's tools, they do it for the other ones. So I'll just glaze over that when I get to that part. This is all alphabetical here. Creature types. Basically what this says is all creatures have types. Great. D20 test. Love the terminology. This just says semantics. If it's an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, or any other circumstance where you would be rolling a D20, we're just calling it a D20 test. I think that's great. Excellent for teaching new players. A lot less words. I'm also saying that from the perspective of somebody who's taught D&D to kids. It can be a lot of extra nuances. It's complicated to teach to adults. So teaching to kids, well, arguably I've taught some kids who picked it up smarter than some adults. So maybe that's not a fair assessment. Anyways, rolling a 1. I don't know what it is, but like I also play this way. If you roll a 1, it automatically fails. Yes, I played that way. When I see it in writing, it's like weird. It's almost like abrasive. It's like it automatically fails. Like that seems very like, whoa, cool it. It'll be okay. But that's how the game works. I don't think there's ever been a situation where somebody rolls a 1 on a check or an attack roll and succeeded. Yeah, no. So it's cool that it's in writing. It's a little bit weird how it's phrased. But it gets even weirder with the rolling a 20 because saying it automatically succeeds, I think that's also caused the internet to be in uproar because people like Matt Mercer in Critical Role, players will be like, he'll ask for ability checks, and I think like Sam Reed will be like, oh, natural 20. And then Matt will be like, plus, and what's your modifier? Because just because you get a natural 20 doesn't mean it's a critical success. You can get a critical hit with attack rolls, but you can't critically succeed on an ability check. So this rule is saying that you can now, which is contrary to how Critical Role handles that. I don't have a problem with it. I just think that we need to pick something and just decide on what it is and go with that. So, I don't really care either way. But this is another piece that people are a little bit weird about. A player character also gains inspiration when rolling the 20, thanks to the remarkable success. This is like this is why semantics are important right here. Who gets the inspiration? Because if you're the player character, and I'm getting inspiration because I rolled a 20, it says a player character gains it? Is it the player that rolled the natural 20, or is it some other player? This is where it gets kind of like weird. And we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to the inspiration section. But I do have a really, really good solution for the issue, because people are like, why is it that the player that rolled a natural 20 gets inspiration, but when a player rolls a 1, they don't get shit? Well, I'll explain that in a second. And I'll tell you why I personally believe that it's totally fine to award the player that rolled the natural 20. But before that, critical hits now apply to weapons and unarmed strikes, and not to spells that have spell attack modifiers. Spell attacks? I think it's just called a spell attack, not a spell save DC. Spell attack. I'm going to probably still keep crits. Just going to say that now. I'm not going to remove crits from monsters. I'm not going to remove crits from spells. In fact, in my game, we have it set up where you have to roll to cast a spell, all spells except cantrips. And if you roll a natural 20 on your spellcasting check, then you've critically cast that spell. And you get some sick benefits like doubling the damage dice, doubling the range, doubling the AoE, cool stuff like that. Whereas the downside is if you mess up and you roll a natural 1, then you roll on a spellcasting mishap table, similar to that in Shadow Dark and pretty much like any of the other like wonky, like old school D&D style things. That's just how I house roll magic in my table. I like magic to be weird and scary and powerful, so I'm cool with that. But this whole like removing critical hits thing, like I'm gonna keep them. That's what I enjoy. Critical hits is such a huge fundamental part of the game. Like I'm okay with critting level 1 players. I think Jeremy Crawford was talking about that, squirming in his seat when he was on the Nintendo Direct. That wasn't a Freudian slip. I mean the Wizards Direct. The logo is even the same. Anyone else notice that? And he was like really uncomfortable talking about potentially removing critical hits. Like, like he knew that people would be upset about it. So good on them for trying new things, but I'm not going to remove it from my game. Anyways, gaming set. All gaming sets now cost 1 gold a piece. Wish that were the case for, 3D printers and all of our hobby materials. Grappled condition. There's now a grappled condition. It's all laid out there. Speed 0. You have disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the grappler. Things about moving, escape DC, yada, yada, yada. That's great. Love it. Incapacitated condition. Also great. Love that. There's a slow condition. I'll just skip over that soon. You know what condition there isn't in here? That was a weird sentence. You know what condition isn't included in this document that Wizards should make? How about the turned condition? For those of you who have ever played a cleric or a paladin and have read the turned feature as one of your abilities, it's weird and wordy, and there's a lot of specific things like you can't move closer to the source of your turning, and it just feels like it should be a condition. So we can just reference that and then be done with it. So, I don't know. Wizards of the Coast, hire me. I'll fix your broken shit. Anyways, inspiration. We're back. All right. We are back to inspiration, everybody. So, by rolling a 20 for a D20 test, you can gain inspiration. People are upset about this. And I think it's totally okay to give inspiration for somebody rolling a natural 20. I don't think it's a good idea to reward a natural 1. If you critically fail, that should be a collective feeling at the table. Oh no, we rolled bad. Something scary is going to happen. It's going to move the story forward in like a bad way for your adventuring party. I think that's cool. I think that's great. I think that's how it should be. However, the semantics here are really misleading and confusing because it says the main way a character gains inspiration is by rolling a 20 for a D20 test. It doesn't say specifically, especially with the critical hit section, who gains that. So my solution is maybe the person who rolls a natural 20, instead of them getting the inspiration, another player at the table gains inspiration for literally witnessing a member of their party do something cool and getting a crit. So that way, everybody can celebrate a natural 20 for their friends at the table, because we should be celebrating our friends' victories. And that player who rolled a natural 20 doesn't get the inspiration for themselves, but they get to give it to somebody else at the table. Most likely, they're going to want to give it to the player who keeps rolling ones and just having really bad dice luck for the evening. Dice for the dice gods. So that's my solution. I thought of that and was like, this is a really cool idea. Even if Wizards of the Coast doesn't incorporate this into the game, I'm probably still going to do it because I think it's a really good idea. And there's nothing cooler than like building that camaraderie with your friends at the table. So I'm all for that. Long rests. This is interesting. I think there's nothing new here except the whole interrupting rest things. Yeah, interrupting the rest. If the rest was at least 1 hour long before the interruption, the creature gains the benefit of a short rest. I'm pretty sure everybody did that anyways. Like if your party was like, we're going to long rest behind enemy lines, and you're like, okay, and they managed to get 1 hour in, and then they were interrupted by goblins or wolves or whatever, I would still just give them the short rest and be like, cool, you can roll hit dice before this battle begins. So it's cool that it's an official rule, but what I was hoping to see from this long rest is something about how you can't just keep long resting on the side of the road every night and fully heal everything miraculously. Keep an eye out for my other video, which I'll be talking about this in. But yeah, I guess this is fine. This is fine. Musical instruments now cost 20 gold apiece. Woo! Primal spells. Yep, that's the third spell type. Here's the slowed condition. Tool proficiencies. Wow. We don't need any more proficiencies. So this says that, where did I go? If you have proficiency with a tool, you can add your proficiency bonus to any ability check you make that uses that tool. If you have proficiency bonus in the skill that's also used with that check, you have advantage on the check too. What? So you get to roll a d20, add your ability score modifier, then you get to add your proficiency bonus for the skill, and then if you happen to also be proficient in the tool, you actually get to roll that d20 with advantage. Like, why even roll? Clearly, you have all these modifiers. Like, you're probably going to succeed on it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how often tool proficiencies come up in actual gameplay. The only tool I can think of that's actually going to be like critical in this piece is like if you're navigating on a ship and you're using navigator's tools, or you're making a map in the dungeon, or you're using thieves tools. In which case, just make thieves tools as an item have a use to it instead of it being correlated with this skill system. Like, I think it's just overly complex for no reason. Yeah, old school essentials, like, I don't know, Hanker and Ferdinand from Runehammer, he has them roll under ability score checks, and that's it. And it's just so easy. Like, just do that. Just do that. Go watch any video on Index Card RPG or Knave or the Professor from Dungeon Crafts, Deathbringer. Like, they have these really elegant, simplified solutions, and I don't get why WOTC doesn't just, like, take a hint. Anyways, that's my tangent. Tremor Sense. A creature with Tremor Sense can pinpoint the location of creatures and moving objects within a specific range. Yes, this is so sick. I know it's just included here because dwarves now have Tremor Sense, so yay. Unarmed strikes, here we go. You can do 1 plus your strength modifier, you can grapple, DC equals 8 plus your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus, or shove. You can either push the target 5 feet away or knock the target prone. So here it says you can choose to knock them prone, which is sick. And I know people are going to get mad because Battle Masters can do that, but hey, you know what? Battle Masters can do that with their maneuver dice maneuvers, one of those. They can do that with that, and they get a D8 bonus, so they're already better at that, so to speak. I don't think this is encroaching on their territory. I think it's fine. Anyways, spell lists. Arcane, Divine, Primal. Seems cool. Seems fine. I noticed Arcane. That means wizards get Armor of Agathes, Hellish Rebuke, and Hex now. That's cool. No Eldritch Blast in Arcane, Divine, or Primal. That's really interesting. So I think we're going to see a Warlock update, especially with the whole short rest mechanics thing going away, which I'm totally on board with. I think it's silly that people are like, I'm going to multi-class in a Warlock to like make my character more OP. Okay, like, fine. Flavor-wise, it's cool. I think multi-classing is kind of silly, but like, I don't know. Like, why not just play a full Warlock? Like, that seems cool too, but I don't know. I think this is fine. Doing this spell system, again, I can't help but notice it's very similar to Index Card RPG and how Runehammer does spells. Very interesting. But yeah, I mean, this is fine. I think I read somewhere on the internet that this kind of falls apart at some point when you start to dive into it, but I don't know. I haven't done that myself yet. So that is the Unearthed Arcana 2022 document. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Cool. So thank you all for sitting through this entire 1 hour long spiel, stream of consciousness thoughts with Jake. If you like the video, like, please throw me a like, talk to me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, let me know, say hi, let me know how you're doing. Like, can't believe how many subscribers this channel has grown to so quickly. I have a full-time job, so I can't just like full-time YouTube all the time. Whoa, there's ice in here. So yeah, I appreciate you all hanging out with me. I know my channel's kind of split right now in these two categories where I'm crafting things and I'm also talking about like rules theory. That's just my jam. So if you're here for it, I'm here for it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace. Cheers. L'chaim. Skull. All right.